Hello everybody and a very warm welcome to the Hungaroring as we are just moments away from the 8th race of the Euroformula Open season that will take us to the midway point of the year and into our summer break. But first, 17 laps around one of the most challenging tracks on the calendar. We've already been to Spa, Estoril, Paul Ricard, and we've got some fantastic venues to visit. But now, as you join myself, Ben Evans, on a glorious afternoon here just outside Budapest, the attention of the drivers is on what the next 30 minutes or so will bring. The pit lane has just opened, and so the car's heading to the grid. And they qualified for this race first thing this morning, and it was the championship leader, Harrison Scott, bouncing back after yesterday's disappointment of a 9th place finish from a 14th place grid start, who lines up in pole position once more. He is looking to make it 6 victories from 8 races in the first half of the season. He will share the front row of the grid with a man who's really been his principal championship rival, and after a 3rd place finish yesterday has moved up to 2nd in the standings, and that is Nikita Troitsky. We're currently watching yesterday's runner-up for Campos Racing, Simo Laaksonen, who has qualified 6th for this afternoon's race. It's been a good weekend for the Campos Racing team, and the addition of Raoul Hyman to the squad has just seen an elevation of pace for all 4 of their drivers, and Laaksonen and Vivacqua in particular benefiting. So here is our pole sitter, Harrison Scott, for RP Motorsport, runaway championship leader, having had the complete clean sweep of pole positions, fastest laps and race victories 3 weeks ago in Paul Ricard. Not quite going all his own way yesterday, but still finished inside the top 10, still picked up a couple of points as well, but was absolutely dominant in qualifying earlier on this morning, and just seemed to be able to find the track space and the opportunity to get the most out of the Michelin tyre, and therefore set a very good time as he rolls in to his pole position mark. The RP Motorsport team will just be making any final checks to tyre pressures and the like. Left-hand side of your pitch, you just saw the blue nose-coned car of Nikita Troitsky, also coming to his marks on the front row of the grid. Troitsky for DriveX team, who finished 3rd yesterday after a superb move around the outside of Raoul Hyman into turn 1, outbraking the South African. And there is Raoul Hyman, who starts in 5th position, a late addition to the Campos team this weekend, and that's because Petru Florescu, who had been in that seat, has moved across to the Fortec team. And Hyman, who was the pace setter in free practice, was very quick in testing, very quick in qualifying yesterday. Couldn't quite get the result in the race as he was jumped by teammate Thiago Vivacqua en route to the first corner. Heat haze pounding off the cars. It's not quite been as hot this weekend as perhaps we feared, looking at the weather forecast earlier on in the week, but nonetheless, it's going to be hard work for the drivers. 17 laps for them, although, of course, as ever, we do have a prolonged safety car period, then that would revert to the 35-minute time limit. So the grid beginning to form, getting very, very busy down there. Lots of journalists and team guests taking the opportunity to enjoy looking at the cars on the grid. Last opportunity for the mechanics just to check that everything is working as well, although they've done plenty of running so far this weekend. I guess the main thing they just need to get on top of is that because we had such heavy rain overnight from Friday into Saturday morning, that a lot of the rub that went down in testing from Thursday and Friday washed away, but the trackers then re-rubbered in. So championship leader Harrison Scott in pole position. Last brief conference with the team, Nikita Troitsky 2nd in the championship, top rookie as well. He's been remarkably consistent this year, seems to really be enjoying his racing this weekend, and was rightly grinning from ear to ear on the podium yesterday after that 3rd place finish. Devlin De Francesco for Carlin Motorsport had another sterling drive yesterday. The Canadian, who lines up in 30, started yesterday 17th on the grid, raced his way up into 8th place, partly by virtue of an absolutely lightning start. And De Francesco looking to get on the podium once more for the first time since Spa-Francorchamps back in May. Eliseo Martinez for the Teo Martin Motorsport team has been really quick all weekend. He didn't quite get the luck of the draw in qualifying yesterday, but really underlined what we saw in the race yesterday. He's got the great package underneath him to qualify fourth. Raoul Hyman then, the first of the Campos runners, and he starts from fifth on the grid. Wasn't quite as quick away from the line as he would have hoped yesterday, so he will be looking for a good start and the chance to challenge into turn one. Simo Laaksonen, runner-up in yesterday's race and the top rookie. Chance to really start to add to his points haul. And the Finnish driver, a slightly problematic qualifying, was a little bit late out on track at the end of the session, but he converted a very good lap late on. Thiago Vivacqua, who starts in seventh, was yesterday's race winner, his maiden victory in the championship, to build on the podiums that he scored earlier on in the year. And the Brazilian controlled the race very nicely, never quite ran away from the field, but at the same time was never put under the sort of pressure for the victory that could have scared off other drivers. Eighth on the grid for Alex Karkozic. The pole has got a very vocal support here this weekend, and they'll be hoping for a little bit better luck than yesterday when fourth place on the grid didn't really get converted. Here's how line up then. Harrison Scott and Nikita Troitsky on row one, with then Devlin De Francesco and Eliseo Martinez on row two. Row three of the grid, all Campos, Raoul Hyman and Simo Laaksonen, and then the fourth row, Thiago Vivacqua and Alex Karkozic. Top 10 completed by Meir Weidenathan, who lost his best lap in qualifying for track limits, and Petru Florescu, newly with the Vortec team. Then Pedro Cardoso and Christian Hahn, both of whom have been looking very rapid this weekend. Yanni Fitcher will be disappointed with 13th, but he can race through the field, as can Tarun Reddy. And also Mateus Iorio, plenty to do from 15th, the Brazilian who's had a lot of rotten luck recently. And then Daniel Pranenko will start 17th, and he will be hoping to keep his nose clean in the first corner. So there is the Alex Karkozic fan club. Here is a look at the championship standings. Harrison Scott then 62 points clear of Nikita Troitsky, the Russian, jumping Weidenathan yesterday. Thiago Vivacqua coming to the mix as well by dint of that victory, whilst consistency has kept Yanni Fitcher inside the top five, with De Francesco and others looking for the opportunity to improve their standings. So the grid just about cleared, seconds away from the 8th race of the Euroformula Open season here at the Hungaroring. The first time that the championship has been back to the Hungaroring since 2014, and it's given us yesterday a very entertaining and close race, because although it was only really Nikita Troitsky and Devlin De Francesco who were able to make much ground through overtaking, nobody was able to run away with the race either. So the field were all closely bunched in yesterday's race, and we're hoping for much the same again this afternoon as team principals, mechanics and engineers head back to the pit boxes. The cars getting fired up. We've got one of the Campos cars possibly with a bit of a delay, and that is Raoul Hyman's car, where there is still work ongoing. That's now been completed as the mechanic moves off the grid. There is Harrison Scott. Scott, who has a bit more knowledge than some of the other drivers here this weekend at the Hungaroring, having raced here in Formula Renault 2 litre racing over the past couple of seasons. And he will be looking to convert another pole position to victory. If anything, though, one of his challenges this year has been matching Nikita Troitsky as he comes off the line. Troitsky, under the expert tuition of Warren Hughes, has really been very, very good at converting his starts as they set off now on the formation lap, the last chance to inspect the 4.3 kilometre 16 turn Hungaroring circuit as they run away from the start and finish line, steeply downhill into the braking zone for turn one. Very easy to get greedy here because the corner really invites you to have a little bit of a lunge, but the way the road falls away, you're actually braking quite late, using the momentum of the road to swing you through the corner. Then through the kink at turn two, the left-hander at turn three. Again, an overtaking opportunity. Also, we have seen this weekend somewhere where it can all go a little bit wrong before swinging downhill out of turn four, and then the blast, such as it is, towards turns 5, 6 and 7, out to the furthest extremity of the track. Chance to really eat the curbs at turn 6 and then turn 7 a long right-hander. Again, an opportunity to overtake and challenge. Also, the opportunity to try and force an error into the chicane at turns 8 and 9. All the drivers, of course, running on the control compound Michelin tyre and running with the Dallara F312 chassis and the control engine provided by the championship promoters GT Sport. So the cars very evenly matched. It just comes down really to some setup tweaks to make them as competitive as possible. And what we've really seen this weekend is absolute parity amongst the teams, with both Campos Racing and Teo Martin Motorsport really finding a turn of pace to rival RP, Carlin and DriveX, who'd been the dominant teams on occasion in the opening events of the season. So very, very closely matched field this weekend. The start is going to be all important, as Martinez will look forward to starting from his second row grid position, a very strong row 3 behind him. We saw in Paul Ricard that Nikita Troitsky in both races was away from the line a little bit better than Harrison Scott when they shared the front row of the grid. And the difference for Troitsky is that unlike Paul Ricard or Spa, where he's had his nose in front, this is a track where it would be much harder for Harrison Scott to find his way past. Therefore, how he gets away from the light is going to be absolutely critical for the Brit. So the black, orange and silver RP Motorsport car rolls to a halt in pole position. The blue nose coned SMP Racing liveried DriveX car alongside them on the front row of the grid. Row 2, you've got the all-blue Carlin car of Devlin De Francesco, the predominantly white Teo Martin Motorsport car of Eliseo Martinez. Got teams watching from the pit boxes as Tarun Reddy and Lodovico Laurini peel across to 14th and 16th places on the grid, respectively. Once the BVM car of Daniel Pranenko comes into position, which it does now, we get the green flag. The lights come on, the revs begin to rise. We're about to go racing once more at the Hungaroring. And away we go. It's a brilliant start from Harrison Scott. De Francesco's bogged down from 3rd place and has been overtaken by much of the field as they all fan out towards turn 1, but it's Scott who's got the early advantage. Troitsky looks to challenge, with then Raoul Hyman up into 3rd, and Troitsky looks to the outside. Oh, and De Francesco piles in to Petru Florescu. Both of the Teo Martin Motorsport cars caught up in it as well, but that was a big hit from the Canadian into the Romanian. They've had previous in British Formula 4 or more contact, and it's a wretched first lap for Fortec. Yanni Fitcher comes under pressure and contact from Lodovico Laurini, who's now got Mateus Iorio right up behind him as well. At the front of the field, it's Scott from Troitsky, then Hyman, Simo Laaksonen, Alex Karkozik well away to 5th, with Amir Vaidanaithan into 6th position. Behind, lots of jostling as Iorio looks the inside of Laurini. Yanni Fitcher and Daniel Pranenko will look to follow through as well as they shuffle through the chicane at turns 8 and 9. Question mark about whether or not we're going to have a safety car, I think, as yes, we do. So the race immediately brought under control for that first corner incident, not unsurprisingly. Hopefully they will have all seen the safety car notification. And so Scott, having done what he needs to do off the line, is now going to have to pause for a few moments for his release to really challenge. And the start line directly opposite our commentary position, you could just see the launch that Harrison Scott got was absolutely fantastic. Although Troitsky had done much to catch him up by the time they got to the first turn, Scott had got the advantage. 3rd place for Al Hyman. So he leapt well up, and likewise Simo Laaksonen into 4th position. It all then got very busy behind. De Francesco bogged it down from 3rd on the grid and was passed by many of his rivals. The Canadian then looking to recover it into turn 1, and that's where it all went wrong. As he got on the grass, became a little bit of a passenger and absolutely clattered in to Petru Florescu. Turn 1. So they navigate the first corner now. Into the pit lane comes Pedro Cardoso, and he's picked up a little bit of damage. Looks like it's the front wing. It's grinding against the surface of the road. Now here is another look at the start then. From this angle, you can just see the static blue car of De Francesco gets underway in about 8th or 9th position. The first 4 and then more rows get past him. But as they head towards turn 1, Di Francesco looking for ground, launches to the inside onto the grass, out of control at that point, and spears into Petru Florescu. Pedro Cardoso taken out in that incident. And Eliseo Martinez, I think, spinning in a separate moment. And then this, further round the first lap, is Lodovico Laurini into the side of Yanni Fittia. Hopefully not too much damage for the German. So that is how it unfolded. And so for the Carlin team, it means their best placed car is now Amaya Weidenheithen in 6th position. As so Martinez to the back of the queue now after his first corner spin. In 14th position. And there, I'm pleased to see, Petru Florescu and Devlin Di Francesco are okay, discussing what happened in the incident and ruining the mistake. But this is what happens when you move up through the International Motorsport ladder. It's all about learning. Sometimes the learning comes from the victories and the successes. Sometimes it comes from the disappointments. And you could just see, and we might see if we have another replay of the incident, the way that Di Francesco was darting around, looking to make any ground that he could into turn 1, and just trying a little bit too hard. We said it was easy to be greedy into the first corner, particularly when everybody's on the brake sharply. It's a track where overtaking can be so difficult, therefore the temptation is to try and make as much ground as possible into the first turn. Well, the Lara F312 chassis doing its job. It was a big hit for both drivers at far from ideal angle. Into the pit lane, unfortunately, is Yanni Fittia in the second of the Fortec cars, who was caught up in that contact with Lodovico Laurini. And Fittia rolls to a halt, and that looks like a puncture where he got tagged by the front nose cone of the Italian's RP Motorsport car. So the Fortec team do the job, and actually Fittia will just rejoin. He'll lose 1 place to Eliseo Martinez, but I think that that will be that. Right, here is another look at the start then, and you see everybody scattering around Devlin Di Francesco. Just keep an eye on the blue car and the driver with the white and red helmet as they head towards turn 1. Di Francesco is down to about 14th, and then squeezed by Taron Reddy. Sees gap to the inside, Reddy defends. That puts Di Francesco onto the grass and thump straight into Petru Florescu. It leaves Pedro Cardoso with absolutely nowhere to go. Hopefully there won't be too much in the way of recovery that's required beyond those 2 cars. Matheus Iorio also having a pretty good first lap. He raced up into 10th position. Daniel Pronenko up to 12th, just behind Lodovico Laurini. So this an opportunity for several drivers to score some points. The safety car coming in at the end of this lap. Immediately, Harrison Scott just backs away from the safety car. He is going to be the driver responsible for pacing this, and it's the point at which he decides to pull the trigger. Mick Kouros, the manager of the Fortec team, passing on wisdom and instruction from the pit wall. Now, in some of the other races we've had this weekend, they left it very late to pull the trigger on the safety car restart, and it meant that it all got a little bit congested into turn 1. But Harrison Scott not taking any chances. He goes very, very early, and it means that Nikita Troitsky has been left for dust a little bit, and that has been beautifully managed by Harrison Scott. If anything, it's the 2 Campos cars in 3rd and 4th where we might see a challenge, because Simo Laaksonen is right in behind Raoul Hyman. Hyman covers the inside line. Laaksonen looks to the outside, wants to go for it. Weidenheithen looking to the inside of Alex Karkozik, and they're all bottled up now behind Raoul Hyman, as behind Thiago Vivacqua and Christian Hahn run side by side. It looks as if Vivacqua has got that in his favour, but they're all bottled up behind Raoul Hyman. Hyman a little bit wide coming out of turn 3 as well, as Laaksonen really starts to apply the pressure. Matheus Iorio and Taron Reddy running side by side through turn 4. Brave stuff from Iorio, and he might just make this stick here as they accelerate on towards turn 6 and 7, and yes, the Brazilian darts past, gains the place. Harrison Scott leads, Troitsky second. It's the fight for third, which is the one that's all bunching up nicely. It's Raoul Hyman trying to shake off the attentions of his teammate, Laxonen. And really, this train back to Christian Hahn, and another train just behind as well. As Laurini running a little bit wide out of turn 9. Opens half a door for the BVM car of Daniel Pranenko. A couple of laps credited to the race distance for the safety car intervention. Whether or not we'll be able to run them or revert to time, we'll find out. As Thiago Vivacqua closes up onto the tail of Amaya Weidenathan, as Weidenathan just covers the inside line into the hairpin. And again, it's the Campos Racing cars that looking very sprightly in race trim. Christian Hahn also goes strongly in the blue Drivex car. Then Matteo Siorio just in behind. For Harrison Scott, no concerns. He leads by almost a second over Nikita Troitsky. Then there's a 2.3 second gap back to Raoul Hyman, who on this occasion has shaken off Simo Laxonen. Laxonen's got Karl Kozik, Weidenathan, Vivacqua and Hahn all queuing up behind him. Scott just trying to eke out any sort of advantage that he can over Nikita Troitsky. Troitsky, at the same time we saw yesterday, got a really good car in race trim. He was able to cruise up to the leading duo once he got into third very, very quickly. And he might be hoping he can do much the same again. Certainly through the first sector, he's gained a little bit of ground. As Matteo Siorio riding the curbs, taking lots of risk. So is Lodovico Laurini. He spun twice there in qualifying yesterday. Laurini in 11th position, pursuing a top 10 finish. There is the 10th place man, Tarun Reddy, trying to close up to Matteo Siorio. So confirmation at the bottom of your screen about the additional laps in the race. Still 35-minute race time. We've got 25 minutes left on the clock as out turn 12 they go. Iorio running very, very wide. So he tries to chase down this group of cars. They're all backing up a little bit behind Simo Laxonen, who has just lost out to Raoul Hyman over the course of this lap. Climbing into turn 16 around the right-hander. This is the end of the lap. Now, here is Pedro Cardoso and Yanni Fitia into turn 7. Aggressive stuff. To the front of the field, all streak past. Now Nikita Troitsky just set the fastest lap of the race, and as you can see, he's now just 7/10 back from Harrison Scott. And so Troitsky still searching for his first victory of the season. Maybe this afternoon will be the opportunity. Meanwhile, Amaya Weidenathan getting onto turns of Alex Karkozik. Karkozik likewise trying to stay with Simo Laxonen. The problem is, as soon as you start defending from somebody, you lose ground to the cars around you. So Raoul Hyman has broken away from Laxonen a little bit as Laxonen's mirrors get filled with Karkozik. As Karkozik attacks Laxonen, Weidenathan joins the party. So does Thiago Vivacqua just behind him. And Christian Hahn as well. Another of the Brazilian drivers going very, very well this weekend. Matteo Siorio just struggling to close the gap down to Christian Hahn. Now here is the fight at the front of the field, and Troitsky continues to reel in Harrison Scott. And Troitsky's just set the fastest middle sector of the race so far. Means the gap between them is down to 0.6 of a second. Does mean that Troitsky is getting in and amongst the turbulent air of the RP Motorsport car in front of him. But Harrison Scott may have to respond to the challenge being thrown down by the Russian as they come out of turn 16. It's been a good close to lap, I'd suggest, for Harrison Scott. Yes, it has been. He was 0.3 up on Troitsky through the final sector. So rebuilds the buffer to 0.8 of a second as they head down the start and finish straight through turn 1. So little to choose between them. And all the while, they are romping clear of Raoul Hyman. That last lap, Harrison Scott was a whole second quicker than everybody else in the field, with the exception of Nikita Troitsky. So Troitsky and Scott flying in formation. The Russian done anything through this opening sector? No, in fact, he's given away a couple of tenths of a second, and with good reason. Scott sets the fastest first sector of the race so far. as Daniel Pranenko coming under pressure from Eliseo Martinez. In fact, that might be Pedro Cardoso. It is Pedro Cardoso. Martinez already passed the Russian, and Cardoso taking his turn to challenge. Got Yanni Fitcher just in behind them as well. This is the fight for 12th place. As Pranenko runs a little bit wide over the curb on the switchback, surely that's the opportunity for Cardoso as Pranenko loses momentum. And that was relatively straightforward for Pedro Cardoso in the event. Forced the error from Pranenko, and now it's the turn of Yanni Fitcher to make a similar move in the remaining Fortec car. Fitcher gets in the tow behind Pranenko, shows himself in his mirrors as they both pile on the brakes into turn 14. Tip into the right-hander, then the left-hander, climbing uphill at 15. Scott and Troitsky have just gone through. Harrison Scott setting the fastest lap of the race once more, rebuilding the buffer over Troitsky. Then the gap back to Raoul Hyman and Simo Laaksonen. And they're just easing away from each other, with Laaksonen also having comprehensively shaken off the attentions of Alex Karkozic. Here is another look then at the moment for Pranenko. You see out over the curb, he's delayed in getting on the throttle. Pedro Cardoso not needing to be as hesitant, and therefore earns himself a little clap from his engineer. So the battle at the front of the field is most likely now going to be the one for 5th place, as Alex Karkozic has got Amaya Weidenheithen closing up onto his tail. We might also see Simo Laaksonen doing something about Raoul Hyman, but here is the Polish driver Karkozic continuing the lineage of quick Polish drivers in the Euroformula Open. Karkozic approaching his 17th birthday in a couple of weeks' time, making a step up from the French Formula 4 Championship last year. We've got the battle that's not really quite come together yet between Christian Hahn and Mateusz Jorio. After he made a lot of ground to Jorio, he's struggled to close up onto Hahn. It's allowing Tarun Reddy to start to apply a little bit of pressure as well. There is Reddy in the second of the Carling cars. This has been a better lap from Nikita Troitsky, who has just gone quicker than anybody through the middle sector. And Troitsky, in the event, sets the fast lap of the race, but only 0.02 of a second quicker than the time managed by Harrison Scott. Raoul Hyman, now he's in some clear air, is also flying and stretching away from Simo Laaksonen as Amaya Weidenheithen tries to close up on Alex Karkozic. Karkozic currently the 3rd rookie in the race, behind Simo Laaksonen and Nikita Troitsky. Using the groove of the road to good effect out of turn 4 as Thiago Vivacqua, race 1 winner, trying to close up onto Amaya Weidenheithen as well. Weidenheithen is a little bit caught here because he's desperately trying to race his way through the turbulent air to get onto terms with Alex Karkozic. At the same time, he has got Thiago Vivacqua snapping his heels. And Vivacqua just seems to be able to get a little bit closer to Weidenheithen. It then will all come down to really the run out of the final hairpin down towards turn 1. That's where the best overtaking opportunity is. It makes the final sector on the preceding lap absolutely key, and this is where Weidenheithen just seems to be able to stretch his legs a little bit over Vivacqua. As you can see, minute gaps between them. If they start squabbling, Christian Hahn, Mateusz Jorio, Tarun Reddy will be in the fight in no time at all. The race leaders have just come past. Advantage Harrison Scott. He pulls another 0.2 of a second out over Nikita Troitsky, so the gap extends to 1.3 seconds. Troitsky in turn now 4 seconds clear of Raoul Hyman. Hyman not having such a good lap. He has got Simo Laaksonen a little bit closer to him. But for Nikita Troitsky, one wonders whether or not he's going to have the chance to get onto terms with Harrison Scott. The golden opportunity was really the start of the race, and then maybe the safety car restart. And after that one lap, where it looks as if Troitsky had got some momentum, there's been that response from Scott. Here in 3rd place, Raoul Hyman, just bringing Simo Laaksonen with him for company. which is important for Laxinen because it means that he is now a couple of seconds clear of Alex Karkozic. And then it's really the Karkozic onwards battle, which is where it starts to get quite close. Farrell Hyman, previously a competitor in the British and European Formula 3 Championships. It's been a weekend of learning. He's immediately been bang on the pace. So out of turn 14 for Nikita Troitsky in pursuit of Harrison Scott. This lap so far, it's been advantage Troitsky, but Scott then just seems to be able to find a couple of tenths each and every time through this final sector, which then enables him to build the buffer. So as they come through, at the end of sector 2, it was 9 tenths between them. At the end of sector 3, it's 9 tenths between them. So Troitsky a little bit closer to Scott. Then you pause for Raoul Hyman, almost 5 seconds back. Simon Laxinen, then Alex Karkozic, who is still doing a very good job of fending off Amir Weidenheithen. And Weidenheithen has also just begun to stretch away from Thiago Vivacqua. And that, for the first time, really releases Weidenheithen actually now to fully focus on trying to overhaul Alex Karkozic. Amir Weidenheithen, the only driver in the field who competed in the full season of Euroformula Open last year. And putting that experience to very good effect, although this is a track in Euroformula Open, guys, which is new to Weidenheithen, new to the Carlin team. Of course, races in other categories, but not in the Euroformula Open. As Christian Hahn looks to pursue Thiago Vivacqua. Tyrone Reddy likewise in pursuit of Matteo Ciorio. And then behind in 11th place, Eliseo Martinez. His teammate Pedro Cardoso has just picked up a 2-second penalty for track limit violations, but he's already over 2 seconds ahead of the car that he was racing, that Ludovico Laurini, and therefore it doesn't really mean anything for Cardoso just at the moment. So we're on the 11th of 19 laps. In terms of a check on the time, we've got 15 minutes remaining on the clock. It's confirmation of the penalty for Cardoso was now Nikita Troitsky, appreciably closer to Harrison Scott once more. And could we be in for a bit of a battle here as we hit mid-race distance? Scott has responded once already by stretching away. He's going to have to do it again. And this is what we saw yesterday, which is Nikita Troitsky has landed on the setup with the DriveX team this weekend, which is really allowing the car to come good from mid-race onwards. And Troitsky was looking very strong later on in yesterday's race, and now, as we're on to lap 12 of this one, starting to come into the mix. Russian chasing down the British driver. This has been much the story of the season, pretty much in this order, which is that Harrison Scott's been leading the way, and Nikita Troitsky, more or less, has been the only driver who has consistently been able to stay with him. But this would be an opportunity if Troitsky can find a way past, to have a weekend where the Russian, in both races, closes the gap on Harrison Scott. But, to use the old motorsport adage, of course, one thing to catch the car in front, quite another to find your way past it, and that, unfortunately, is the task that now confronts Troitsky. As into the pit lane, a real disappointment for Yanni Fitcher, and indeed the Fortec team. Both of their cars effectively eliminated from proceedings by turn 3. And in both instances, not really through the fault of either of their drivers. As again, Troitsky in the turbulent air behind Scott as they came through turn 16, and he's going to close up in the toe. Don't think he's going to get quite close enough to challenge Scott this time around, but he gets to within 2 car lengths or thereabouts of Harrison Scott as they turn through the opening corner. But it's been through the middle sector where Troitsky has consistently seemed to have had the legs on Harrison Scott, and now he's there 4 tenths of a second back. It's finding a way through those final 4 tenths that's going to be so difficult, though, because these cars with the front and rear wings produce that turbulent weight behind them, which in turn makes the car chasing start to understeer. All the changes of direction around the Hungaroring, it means that the air gets very, very buffeted, and staying right behind your rival can be very, very tricky. Scott negotiates the chicane, so does Troitsky. Slightly different approaches in attack. Troitsky seeing it as an opportunity to maybe sneak a couple of hundredths worth of advantage over Harrison Scott. Harrison Scott, it's all about the corner exit speed. Stay smooth, stay consistent, stick to the job. If he does that, there's not a whole heap that Troitsky can do. So through the middle sector on the lap, Scott actually opens up a couple of tenths over Nikita Troitsky. Again, we're just seeing that elevation of pace from Harrison Scott. This battle now 6 seconds ahead of Raoul Hyman. And Scott has essentially had an error-free season. And again, just somehow able to cleave out 0.3 of a second over Nikita Troitsky through the course that last lap. Troitsky looking to come back at Harrison Scott. He's got 6 laps to play with. 11.5 minutes on the clock, so I think we are going to get all our laps in, which is good news. Third place, Raoul Hyman. He's now 1.6 seconds up on Simo Laaksonen. Fifth place, it remains Alex Karkozic. Sixth, Meir Weidenheithen. Seventh, Thiago Vivacqua. Eighth, Christian Hahn. Ninth, Matthias Yorio. And in 10th, Tarun Reddy. The order has been relatively stable since the opening exchange of the race, but as you can see, nobody's really been able to open up a big advantage over anybody else, particularly in the bottom half of the top 10. So Matthias Yorio, he'll just be pleased, I think, to have got through the opening corners without having been involved in somebody else's accident, because that is the fate that befell him at Paul Ricard and then again turn 1 yesterday. Thiago Vivacqua celebrating victory on Saturday. Looking like a 7th place finish for him this afternoon, because he's not really been able to stay with the Meir Weidenheithen, sliding towards the clutches of Christian Hahn. Hahn likewise in pursuit of 8th place. That'll be his 2nd best finish of the season, his 2nd points finish as well, building on the 7th place that he got in the first race of the year in Estoril. Got warning flags for both Nikita Troitsky and Raoul Hyman now for track limit violations. And where that starts to become really key is that if you think Pedro Cardoso picks up a 2-second penalty, which has in fact become a 4-second penalty because he continues to violate the track limits, and that will demote Pedro Cardoso behind Ludovico Laurini. And that could have a substantive effect on both Troitsky and Hyman's eventual finishing position. Now Christian Hahn a little bit nearer to Thiago Vivacqua. You see how that gap has just chipped down over the last couple of laps, but now Hahn in with a really good opportunity to maybe challenge Vivacqua as they head towards turns 5, 6 and 7. This is as close as Hahn has been. It's going to require something a little bit brave into turn 7. Tries to force the mistake from Vivacqua, who brakes very late, but is able to swing through, uses the aerodynamic grip of the Campos car and withstands the challenge from Christian Hahn. For Christian Hahn, it's the frustration of probably catching that car at just the wrong point in the circuit. There aren't many opportunities for him to do an awful lot with the momentum through the first sector on the lap. But of course, as Vivacqua defends, it means that there is daylight between himself and Meir Weidenheithen. There's lots of battles coming to the boil very nicely as we head towards the closing laps here of the first half of the Euroformula Open season. 8-week summer break following the checkered flag today, and then we'll be in action on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit the first weekend of September. Who is going to go into summer break with all the momentum? Will it be Scott? Will it be Troitsky? Harrison Scott pursuing his 6th win in 8 races. Nikita Troitsky trying to just find those crucial 10ths of a second that are going to really allow him to challenge. And at the moment, he's just not been able to generate that advantage. So he has no option but to follow him behind Scott. And it's been a good opening to this lap from Harrison Scott. In fact, the best first sector of the race altogether. So he eases his way from Nikita Troitsky. Troitsky 6.5 seconds up the road from Raoul Hyman. And then Simo Laaksonen in 4th. Alex Karkozic is 5th. Meir Weidenheithen in 6th. Thiago Vivacqua 7th from Christian Hahn in 8th, Matesiori 9th. Taryn Reddy completes the top 10. We're following the car Kozik and Weidenathan Scrap for 5th and 6th position. It's going to be more points today from Air Weidenathan after the retirement of yesterday, but he's going to finish behind Nikita Troitsky, so that will further cushion the Russian in second place in the championship. Particularly as Troitsky is also currently set for the bonus point that the drivers get for fastest lap. Through to completion then of the 16th lap of the race. Just 3 to run here at the Hungaroring. And Eman Weidenathan and Alex Karkozik a little bit closer, but again, what it comes down to is just getting from within 7/10 of the car in front to being able to really challenge them. Pedro Cardoso's day of entertainment continues. He's just had 5 more seconds added to his race time for repeated track limit violations. So he has now picked up 9 seconds worth of penalty. And on adjusted time, that is I think going to hurt him a little bit, as might allow Lodovico Laurini to jump him in the overall finishing order. Harrison Scott, though, he's had to work a little bit harder for this one than he maybe had to in Paul Ricard, where he really was the dominant driver of the weekend. Nikita Troitsky's had 2 surges where he's come towards Scott, and on both occasions, Scott has been able to withstand the pressure. See there, the suspension hard at work as Troitsky pushes hard. Harrison Scott climbing uphill into 16th and final turn of his 17th lap, so into the penultimate lap of the race. Nikita Troitsky in close pursuit. For the Drovex team, over the last couple of seasons, they've really become very well established at the front of the Euroformula Open, with Ferdinand Habsburg last year, and then Nikita Troitsky this season. Consistently front-running, consistently very, very competitive package at each and every round. But Scott's lead now 1.5 seconds as he stretches his legs late on. As Tarun Reddy has a little bit of a nibble to the inside of Matesiori, and that felt like a late weekend lunge rather than anything that was really likely to work out for Tarun Reddy. But you can see the pace that Eliseo Martinez is running with, rather, who spun at the first corner, but Martinez, who qualified 4th, has really quite easily cruised up to the tail of this group and may be able to challenge late on. The rookie race, by the way, remains Troitsky from Laxonen and Alex Karkozik. Tarun Reddy currently the 4th of the rookies, with Eliseo Martinez the 5th. More track limit warnings, this time to Tiago Vivacqua. Now, are we going to see some late race shuffling for the final points playing position, because Martinez is coming on pretty quickly here to Tarun Reddy, and Reddy is also considering lining up one last move on Matesiori. They're about to start the final lap of the race. As Harrison Scott accelerates through now, his lead remains over a second on Nikita Troitsky. Then it's a big gap back to Raoul Hyman in 3rd, and likewise Hyman has comprehensively shaken off Simo Laxonen. Harrison Scott, this is exactly what he wants going into the summer break. He let his rivals make up a little bit of ground yesterday. He has taken all of that ground back this afternoon. And he and Nikita Troitsky, as we come to the close of the first half of the season, really established as the 2 to beat in the Euroformula Open, as they head around turn 7, beginning the long, sinuous run back towards the pits, just over the curves. But you can see both of them millimetre perfect. And Harrison Scott, he never looks like he's overexerting the car. Always super smooth, always, though, right on that razor's edge of getting the maximum out of the car without getting it moving around too much, which would then suggest that things were at risk of going a little bit wrong for him as Scott navigates the right-hander at turn 14. Just the climb up behind the pits and paddock to go, and then a checkered flag will be ready to greet Harrison Scott for the 6th time this year in the Euroformula Open. It has been another magnificent performance from Harrison Scott as he accelerates out of the final turn. The checkered flag goes out, the RP Motorsport team celebrate, and Harrison Scott wins in Hungary. He makes it 6 from 8. Nikita Troitsky completes another strong weekend. 2 podium finishes for him, with Raoul Hyman rounding out the rostrum ahead of Simo Laaksonen in 4th, Alex Karkozic in 5th, with Troitsky, Laaksonen, Karkozic comprising the rookie podium. Amer Weidenheithen to 6th, Thiago Vivacqua holding on for 7th, ahead of Christian Hahn. Matteo Siorio in 9th, Tarun Reddy completes the top 10, and Jose Martinez in 11th, ahead of Pedro Cardoso, whose accumulated penalties are really something to behold, as I think he's now got an additional 10 seconds added to his race time. So Harrison Scott celebrating as the marshals acclaim him on his way back to Parc Ferme. Really, really impressive drive again from Scott. Likewise for Nikita Troitsky, runner-up and rookie winner again. So let's have a look then at the classification. Scott takes the victory from Troitsky in 2nd, Raoul Hyman a fine 3rd ahead of Simo Laaksonen, his best weekend of the year. And Alex Karkozic showing his pace with a fine 5th position. Amer Weidenheithen in 6th. 7th place to Thiago Vivacqua, and then in 8th place Christian Hahn, 9th Matteo Siorio, and 10th Tarun Reddy. So outside the points for Jose Martinez and Pedro Cardoso, but I think they can both take a lot of heart from the weekend because they've had very quick cars underneath them. Ludovico Laurini in 13th from Daniel Pronenko. Unfortunately, then we lost Yanni Fittia and Petru Florescu, and then Devlin De Francesco as well. Championship points time, 68-point buffer for Harrison Scott at the turning point of the season. Nikita Troitsky now well consolidated in 2nd place. Amer Weidenheithen adds to his tally, but he needs to get on the podium soon in 3rd. Vivacqua up into 4th after a great weekend for him. Neither Fittia nor De Francesco added to their tally, which means Simo Laaksonen making up a little bit of ground in 7th. So into Parc Ferme for Harrison Scott. He really enjoyed that. The fist out of the cockpit celebrating. It was far from his own way. We had those 2 phases of the race when Nikita Troitsky was really coming back at him. On both occasions, though, Scott was able to withstand the pressure and just got his head down, found a bit of pace, re-extended his advantage at the front of the field. And that was exactly the sort of performance that the team would be wanting to see. Knocks it out of the park, and Scott goes to greet the RP Motorsport team. Friends, family and well-wishers. Certainly did a lot to make them very proud. Likewise, all smiles from the DriveX team to Nikita Troitsky. I think he should be justifiably proud of that performance. It was a really good pursuit of Harrison Scott, and both of them well clear of much of the field. So here is a look. Harrison Scott celebrating as he comes across the line. Oh, yes. And the same for the RP team. All smiles on the pit wall. Scott hard at work, asking everything of the car. And delivering the result. We'll hear from our race winner in a couple of moments' time, with Raoul Hyman thanking the Campos team. Right route to 3rd place finish, and he has been one of the pace setters of the weekend. Simo Laaksonen, likewise, really strong performance this weekend.
Harrison, Scott, I think we have met before in similar occasions.
Yeah, definitely. Feels good to be standing here this weekend. Obviously, would love to have been here yesterday as well, but disappointing qualifying. Obviously, to have a provisional pole lap taken away for track limits was annoying, and it's so hard to overtake here. So wasn't really able to do anything from P14. Just managed to scrape into the points. But yeah, a faultless day today with pole position and leading from lights to flag was just brilliant.
Second part of the season is starting now. Is it downhill?
No, I hope it carries on like this. Obviously, I think every race we get to, the teams are getting closer and closer, so we've got to carry on working hard each race, the level we're at. Yeah. Hopefully we can just keep.
All the best.
It was Harrison Scott who led away from pole position at the start of the 8th round of the season, as behind Devlin De Francesco bogged down in third. It meant that Scott led from Troitsky as they headed towards turn 1, but watch behind as De Francesco looking to recover some ground into turn 1. Got squeezed a little bit trying to dart to the inside turn and ready onto the grass, torpedoed into Petru Florescu, and he took Pedro Cardoso with him as well. Further around the first lap, more disappointment for the Fortec team as Yanni Ficcia came into contact with Lodovico Laurini, and that eventually was to put Ficcia out of the race. Once the safety car had come in, it was Pedro Cardoso who was scything back through the field, clearly with a point to prove, moving clear of Daniel Pranenko. As at the front, Nikita Troitsky tried to take the pressure to Harrison Scott. On occasions, Troitsky got within 0.4 of a second, but he could never quite craft the overtaking opportunity, and therefore for Harrison Scott, it was another very smooth performance. His 6th victory of the season, one that further increases his lead at the top of the championship. Troitsky moving up to 2nd in the standings, and the top rookie once more, with Raoul Hyman completing the rostrum, Simon Laxton and Alex Karkozik completing the rookie podium. So on to the top step comes Harrison Scott. To the applause of the RP Motorsport team. Success at the Hungaroring is now won every single meeting this season. National anthem in honour of Harrison Scott, again to the top step of the podium in Hungary as Raoul Hyman receives trophy for 3rd place. It's been a good weekend this for the Campos team. 1st and 2nd yesterday, a 3rd place finish today. Runner-up for Nikita Troitsky, a 1st victory for him. Feels like it is very, very close. And winner's trophy for Harrison Scott. He hoists aloft in celebration. And the same for RP Motorsport. They celebrate another triumph as the team representative reminds everybody. So it's the first weekend of September where the Euroformula Open season will reconvene before the busy run through the autumn with racing at Silverstone, Monza, Jerez, and the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya to look forward to. For now, though, Harrison Scott, Nikita Troitsky and Raoul Hyman can celebrate on the podium in Hungary. Three very happy drivers congratulating each other. We will turn our attention to the rookie rostrum. And again, more to celebrate for Campos team. 3rd place, though, for Alex Karkozik. Qualified 4th yesterday, got involved in the first corner incident, but has bounced back very well today. For Simon Laxton, this has been a very, very impressive weekend for the Finnish driver, and he will be looking to carry that momentum through the summer, and the same for Nikita Troitsky. He's now not been off the podium in over 4 races. So third place to Karkozik, to the cheers of the fan club. Runner-up to Laaksonen, and Nikita Troitsky celebrating as top rookie. More trophies to be presented. Karkozik hoists his aloft. Same to Simo Laaksonen. And the same for Nikita Troitsky. So it's been an excellent weekend of racing here in Hungary. It's been a wonderful first half of the Euroformula Open season. We will see you at Silverstone in September. Until then, it's goodbye from Hungary.